So today we want to talk about captives for the private equity industry. And we're excited to talk about this for a couple of reasons. And the concepts I'm going to talk about can really apply to any line of coverage, but we're going to focus on group medical. And the reason is twofold. So if you look at the private equity industry, as it's approximately 3.5 trillion dollar industry out there. And then within that, you've got group medical, which for companies generally is the second largest expense after payroll. So when you're thinking about the size of these two items, the addressable market or frankly, the metastasizing problem that these companies have is huge. So it's an important item to focus on, and we're going to hear more and more about it in the coming months. So, and this doesn't have to be limited to private equity. I mean, this could be any company that's in acquisition mode or doing a lot of mergers or acquisitions, private equity backed or not. But it's really, applicable to those companies that are, taking financing or investment dollars and, acquiring a portfolio of companies. So what's happened historically over the last 10 years, a lot of mergers and acquisitions, a lot of acquisition activity generally. And each of these companies that's being acquired has a group medical plan. And what we've seen is, a company will acquire a new portfolio company and they'll be focused on integrating the financials, integrating the operations, keeping that company growing so that the investment pays off. And there's been less focus on integrating the insurance, certainly on the property and casualty side, but specifically on the group medical side. And so what we've come to see when we come in and evaluate these companies is you've got this portfolio of operating companies and you've got this rat's nest of different group medical plans. So we looked at one business recently where, the main company, the first 500 employees were with United Healthcare nationally. They had done acquisitions throughout the Southwest, and they had Aetna, Blue Cross, two more Aetna plans in a different division. Then they had acquired some companies in California. And, these were smaller acquisitions, 30, 40, 50 employees. And within each of those acquisitions, there was 4 Kaiser plans, 2 more Cigna plans. So you get the idea. So you've got all these different plans that you have to administer to. So, one, it's an administrative headache. And then the bigger problem is, you're buying up all this size, right? You're scaling, but on the insurance side with the medical, you're not leveraging any economies of scale. And up until now, it's kind of maybe a gnawing issue, but it hasn't really been a big problem because let's look at why. One, interest rates are low, right? Valuations are high. So it's easy to gloss over, things on the P&L expense line items, but those factors are changing, right? Interest rates are up. It's going to be tougher and tougher to get those high valuations that these firms have relied upon in the past. And so real quick, there's going to be big attention being paid to, again, line items on the P&L, which is going to be this group medical expense. And so what companies will inevitably try to do is consolidate these plans into one single plan, drive some savings, and then, alleviate the administrative burden. But the problem that you have is you've got companies all over the country and different industries, right? So if I'm a trucking company in Texas and I've got a portfolio company with that, and then I've got a white collar component out in California, well, those are two completely different employee profiles. And so one benefit plan for, what would make sense for the folks in Texas may not make sense for those folks in California. So, traditional off-the-shelf insurance products aren't going to be suitable for, addressing this problem. And that's really where the captive comes in. What the captive allows the private equity firm or acquiring company to do is essentially access the self-insurance market where they can say, hey, I don't want to buy these off-the-shelf products. I'm going to set up my own plan. And it's going to be centralized within the captive at the private equity level, but it will afford me the flexibility to now go down to each of these portfolio companies and allow them to have their own plans that meet their needs at their location for their employees, but in a financially efficient way that allows me to recoup the underwriting profit that the carriers are currently getting and leverage my economies of scale to negotiate reinsurance, best in class pharmacy, and really control the cost of the spend. And then, that's just, right off the bat, but then furthermore, long-term down the road, the access to data to further tweak, to further make adjustments on the benefits plan to drive down that cost. Really, when you look at it from the ability to have control, get access to your data, and then streamline the operations for the human resources people and the staff that are having to administer to this. It's really a very elegant solution that I think a lot of private equity firms and acquiring companies are going to have to pay attention to.